and another great athlete. Mike Hasenbalg was actually born, believe it or not, he was born with a basketball in his hand. Everyone in the Windermere area of Berkeley Heights could hear the bouncing of a basketball on Edith Avenue. Although very talented in baseball, golf, and bowling, Mike's passion in sports was basketball. No telling how far that 1983 team would have gone if its leader and star point guard, Mike Hasenbalg, had not broken his leg midway through the season. Stevie Free and I were talking about that earlier. As it was, the team went on to a sectional play. Upon graduation from high school, Mike went on to play 4 years as a point guard at Oneonta State. In his senior year, the team won an ECAC bid. Mike continues today to be an accomplished golfer and has fond memories of an athletic family to look back on. A wonderful friend, I introduce Mike Hasenbalg into the Hall of Fame.
Thanks, PK. All right. You handle the housekeeping. Thank you. MD, great to follow you. Very proud to be here. We've got 4 of us that graduated the same year. Albert DeBoriazzi, MD, nerd. So it's very exciting. I'm glad Mike was short because I get to use his time now. I met my wife Beth in 2003. She's not from Saugerties. She grew up in Westchester and Northern Dutchess, and we met at church. And so back in January, I got a call from my good buddy and one of my best friends, Jeff Doty, and Beth was with me when I got the call, and after our conversation, it sounded like a different conversation, and she said, "Who was that?" I said, "Oh, it's Jeff. What did he want?" I said, "Well, he let me know that I been inducted to the Saugerties Sports Hall of Fame." I said, "What do you think?" She goes, "I guess all those stories you told me are true after all." Honey, I love you. So glad that you're here to share this with me. Thank you. There's a legend that Ben Franklin, someone asked him one time, "How long does it take you to prepare for a 15-minute speech?" He goes, 3 or 4 hours. "Oh, wow. How long does it take you to prepare for an hour speech?" He goes, "That I can do anytime." Lucky for you, I got some notes. So we'll try and keep it within the time limit. I want to certainly thank the committee, Greg, all those that have come before me. As an athlete, you want the respect of your teammates, you want the respect of your coaches, and you certainly want the respect of the guys and gals that have gone before you. And so I feel very blessed to be honored today for my achievements, but I really feel like I'm the beneficiary of everyone that came before me. So many behind the scenes, and it's just tremendous. And I'd be remiss to also say, as a lifelong Met fan, it's particularly exciting to be inducted the same year as Mike Piazza. Now, I don't know, even though I was at his first game as a Met, that he'll be referencing me in Cooperstown this year. Thought I'd throw it in there. You know, last year, a bunch of us got together and played some golf over at Lazy Swan, and I was in the same cart with Bob Caparelli, and we had a great time, and we came to the event and watched our friends be inducted, and you know, Bob was talking about how unique Saugerties is in just this whole event, this whole experience, and so we had a great conversation about that. He wrote a letter to the editor to the Saugerties Times. I'd encourage you to Google it. It's still out there, because we could probably say the next 45 minutes, read the letter, and all go have a drink or something. It was phenomenal, and you know, Saugerties is very unique. It is a unique experience growing up in Saugerties. I saw on YouTube, a YouTube video that was posted on Facebook couple years ago, I'm not sure who had posted it, but it was IBM doing a promotional video back in the late 60s about Ulster County and trying to recruit their young engineers and all their hotshots to come live in Ulster County. And it was a great video, and I started thinking, I said, man, wouldn't it be great if we did something, for Sorganies? Great video for Sorganies. And of course, there's so many things to offer, but the heart of that video certainly would be get a little helicopter aerial over Cantine Field. And you'd see the basketball courts filled on a May or June evening, guys waiting to play. You got the Sauer Field and the 3 Little League fields and the girls over there. You got the big field, of course, in the middle. You got back in the 80s, there was another baseball field behind the high school. What now is Hits, used to be the golf course. And come up to 7th hole, you watch the football guys practicing and all the soccer players. If you had the aerial view, you would see moms with their strollers going from place to place, hundreds, some maybe thousands of people on a May, June evening. And of course, you'd have to, pipe in the PA on the main field. You'd hear Charlie Gilmore. You'd hear his voice saying, batting for Roxview, number 8, catcher Steve Caparelli, number 8. That's Sorganies. That's what we had the pleasure of growing up in. And if you liked sports, it was great. If you just like to socialize, you go up to Cantine Field and meet your friends and have a great time. I remember when I played my last college basketball game, we had lost by a point up in Potsdam. And so we had a nice 4 or 5 hour ride home. And I remember looking out the window thinking, okay, this is it. I'm pretty sure there's not a pro contract coming. My college playing days are done. Now what do? I'm going to graduate in a few months. And I put on my mental VCR and I started thinking back to how it all began. I asked my dad, how did we end up in Sorganies? My mom's from Montreal, Canada. My dad's from Binghamton. He was a pilot in Vietnam. I said, how did we end up in Sorganies? So my dad told me that when he got a medical discharge from the service, he had, 3 kids, 1 on the way, and he had a good job. He had 2 offers, one from McDonnell Douglas in the Midwest, and he had one from Kingston IBM. And I said, well, why'd you pick Kingston IBM? He goes, well, actually, McDonnell Douglas paid a little more. He goes, but, your mom's got 10 sisters and a brother. Figured Sorganies would be a little closer to home. So we moved to Sorganies, and, years later, my younger brother Scott came along. Whoops. So when I popped in my mental VCR and I started playing back, I want to just talk a little bit about my family. I want to talk a little bit about some of the coaches I had, share a couple stories. Hopefully they won't be boring. Some of you have heard the phrase, sleeves up, hearts open, all in. How many have heard that phrase before? Okay.
Work his family.
It's the Red Cross.
Well, that describes my mom and dad. Certainly all in, raising 5 kids, 4 athletic boys, and a great athlete, my sister. And we had at our house just a makeshift arena, like that was quoted in the paper. There was hoops in the driveway and with a perfect wiffle ball court. I mean, the divider between the 2 garages was the perfect width of a home plate. Hit it on the grass across the street was a home run. Hoops all the time. Our yard was a football field. It was just great. But I can remember so many times all us kids being outside playing in the front, whatever game it was, we were playing. Every once in a while I'd look up and I'd see my mom just looking out the window with like a satisfied smile, just happy that her kids were out playing. And years later I realized I think she was just happy we were outside playing. But hey, the heart of a mom, right? How many moms out here, you don't do it for the recognition. It's an unconditional love. You probably feel at times maybe your kids even take you for granted. Well, they probably do. But you're storing up treasures in heaven. for what you do. The heart of a mom is amazing. My mom, I can tell story after story after story that doesn't scratch the surface, but at the end of the day, she was most happy to see us satisfied, being participating in what we're doing and active, and she, we owe a debt of gratitude to her. Now my dad, comes from a different perspective sometimes. He was a, very good athlete, played at RPI, a couple sports, played hoops and golf. And my dad had the gift of encouragement. He had a real gift for all his kids to figure out what they liked, what they were good at, and then jump on their bandwagon. He had an easygoing style, very pragmatic in how he did things. And, he taught us a couple of things. The number one, attitude is everything. And he also taught us what I call the Deuteronomy principle. And he wasn't a Bible scholar or anything like that. But one day as an adult, I'm reading through Deuteronomy, and I saw where it encouraged the parents to look for opportunities to teach their kids the right values. And that's how my dad used sports. He used sports. Sometimes it was very subtle, the life lessons. Other times it was really only about sports. But later in life, there were so many things transferable. And he taught us how to enjoy competition. He was always saying, have a great time, go enjoy the competition. And his way of enjoying it was three things: preparation, practice, and then of course your performance. And then he loved to do game films afterwards. That was my favorite time, coming home from hoop games and, debriefing on the game. And my dad, he would always find a couple things to encourage you and a couple things to improve on. And it really taught me how to accept feedback. You don't have a perfect performance, you're not perfect in everything you do, but my dad really taught through these game films, if you will, that you're always looking to improve. You never arrive. You can always do better. But at the same time, it wasn't like in a pressurized way. I don't know if that makes any sense. And, so that was, his thing was, you can't control the outcome, so you can control how you practice. You can't control how you carry yourself, and you can't control how you prepare. And that's just something that stuck with me for life. I don't always follow it well, but it's just fantastic. I took a young guy, a friend of mine golfing one time, went up to Easy Acres to play some golf. That's where we do our playing golf. It's 3 acres over in Kingston. And when we dropped him off, my dad, I was talking to him, and I said, Dad, I said, so-and-so, his score was a lot better than I thought it was. He was really not playing well. And he goes, he's new to the game, don't worry about it. He goes, just make sure you always count your strokes. He goes, don't cheat yourself. Someone asked me, what's the difference between tournament golf and playing golf with your buddies? Right? When you play golf with your buddies, besides having maybe a couple of root beers in the cooler, what you get at the end of the hole, you say, well, put me down for a 5. And the key word was, put me down for a 5. That's not what I got, but put me down for a 5. In tournaments, you can't do that. My dad was just very, very much trying to give us a glimpse of, hey, when you get an achievement, you want it to be real, so don't cheat yourself. Do it the right way. And game films in the car, I'll just share a couple quick stories that stuck out. One, I was at JV basketball. We were playing Fallsburg at home, which had a very quick team. And I probably played one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. It was awful. They had a half-court trap. I was rushing and did a lot of things. This is a terrible game. One of the only games we lost under Coach Spears in the 3 years I played for him. So guess who was not looking forward to game films in the car? I walk back to the car, and I kind of have my posture and my body language was not very positive. I get in the car, and I'll never forget it. My dad, because he's going to be candid with me, he's going to be honest with me. He goes, well, we both know that wasn't one of your better games. Right? He goes, but I got to tell you. He goes, every time you made a turnover, you hustled back. You didn't point fingers. You didn't blame your teammates. You hustled back and tried to make a play. He goes, every time. And there was a lot of opportunity for you to do that. And it just changed everything, because now I wanted to talk about the game. And I said, well, what was I doing wrong? So he gave me a couple things that he thought was what I was doing wrong. But more important was the lesson that, you're not always going to have great performances, and you need to be able to accept feedback. And it's good to get a team of people that believe in you, that you can go get that honest feedback. Because it's not about being perfect. My brother Norm, my oldest brother, and I might get a little emotional with this. Without him, I'm not here today, period. It's a fact. 7 years older, he took me under his wing, and he taught me how to run perfect pass patterns. He taught me how to shoot basketball. We would play for hours one-on-one hoops, in the rain, in the snow, didn't matter. You cut off the gloves, you cut so you can still get the fingertip. We played for hours. It took me a long time to beat him, and he was very competitive. We even play automatic quarterback. Jay Harris, Hall of Famer, lived up the road from us, right? We were the same age. They used to play one-on-one. They're 7 years older than me, and they would cover me as the receiver. And so I would use all the things he would taught me, trying to get open, and he hated to lose. And so I knew I better catch every ball he throws me. But it was those types of memories. It was great. We used to keep track of home runs from Home Run Derby for the whole summer. And my brother Mark, we played in a state championship bowling team together. And I remember we lost by 10 pins and won the state title. And I was doing my best impression of Damien Ferraro. I mean, everything was in the pocket, right? The only problem was I kept on fouling. Been bowling my whole life, I never fouled. But the adrenaline of the tournament, I was going too fast. And again, another life lesson, you learn that adrenaline's good, enthusiasm's good, but you gotta learn to control it, you gotta learn to direct it. Another story with my dad, I was invited to the 5-star basketball camp in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, going into my senior year. Best players in the country are supposed to be there. And I get there, and after the first day, I am getting killed. I couldn't believe how good these guys are. I mean, I was playing against Muggsy Bogues, Reggie Williams. These guys were way, way out of my league. And I remember, call and collect. Call home, we didn't have cell phones then. So I talking to my dad, so how's it going? I said, Dad, I'm terrible. He goes, these guys are good. He goes, this is real, I mean, they really handed my lunch to me. So, typical was my dad, what did he say? Hey, well, that's the only way you're gonna get better. Play against better competition. And it's, okay, great, put Mom on, please. A little sympathy here. My sister Linda, she came a year behind us. She had 3 older brothers. I mean, her credentials are tremendous as an athlete. Like 5 years varsity softball. She was amazing. All league in softball, basketball, just tremendous. And then my brother Scott was here. If some of you read in the article that Iggy put together, our most accomplished college athlete. He played basketball and golf. And I remember I was so proud that he worked so hard, to do what he did. He became the 2nd best athlete in the family, behind my sister Linda. When it comes to coaches, I want to separate my high school coaches from the volunteers, because that's what SAA is all about, right? It's the volunteers. It's giving all the kids an opportunity to be part of a team, to enjoy competition. And there's a whole list of them. I can't spend a lot of time on each one because I would cut into Murph's time. But Charlie Kavanaugh, Butch Tomaseski during CYO. Some of you remember Charlie Kavanaugh, late Charlie Kavanaugh. He'd call you the big banana at the end of his coach. He'd get that hand shaking and giving you his instruction. Tim Murphy and Jack Nacarado, my Little League coaches. And last year here, Tim reminded me that when John Harris got inducted, he goes, that's the first Dodger, because he played for the Dodgers. He's got 2 here this year. These guys are out building their business with volunteering their time. I remember our Little League All-Star coach, Tom Wilsey. Young guy, competitive. We had a great team. We had visions of going to Williamsport. We had that type of team. And I remember one practice, I was playing shortstop, and he comes up to me, and I'm having another bad practice. He stops practice, he walks up, and goes, Haas, you know, when we started this Little League team, I thought I had a shortstop I can depend on. I'm not so sure anymore. Ooh, ouch. But afterwards, after the practice was over, he put his arm around me. He goes, you know, you gotta learn how to take charge of the infield. You gotta learn, you can't have the mental errors. And he goes, I was hard on you because I believe in you. He goes, you are the best shortstop in the league, and we can go far, but we need you to be a leader. And, you know, why did that story stick out? Because I learned in life that you can challenge people while believing in them. You know, he was very candid, but he believed in it. And you can believe people to success, so I remember that. And then, before our senior year, there was a problem. The sports budget did not pass. I don't know if you remember that, PK. 1982, coming off of stagflation and double-digit mortgage rates, and I couldn't understand how a sports budget in Sorbies doesn't pass. And I remember sitting with my dad and trying to figure out, do I transfer to Coleman, or what do we do? And leaving the Sorbies, right? All the parents and the volunteers, the Booster Club got together, and while they were waiting for another vote, guaranteed varsity sport for the next year by raising money. One of the things, that, I mean, that was phenomenal. And one of the things that they did, how many have ever heard of Mike Tyson? Well, he was with the Catskill Club as a 16-year-old. They had the Long Island Club against the Catskill Club at Sorkins High School with the future heavyweight champion of the world there. And that raised, I don't know how much money. But it's that commitment, it's that dedication for a guy like me to do the things they love to do, which is play and participate and compete. And it doesn't happen without the people who go before you. Then there's the Donlin, the Roger Diamond Auditorium. Get out of your car on Partition Street, it's all quiet, you open up those two big doors, and all of a sudden you hear sneakers squealing and balls bouncing, and you race up those 23 steps because you know you got a game. There's going to be guys there. What was great about the Donlin is it brought the generations together, because sometimes there were older guys there. You know, guys like Larry Marcus and Jack Nacarado and Tim Murphy, Al Herdlicka, just to name a few. I mean, you didn't have to go shirts and skins. It was, you know, shirts versus knee braces, you know. And I couldn't believe how they would beat us sometimes. How are these guys beating us? And then I found out that they knew where the dead spots in the floor were. And with the new Donlin, Murph reminded me that they kept one of the dead spots there. Going on to high school, I'll wrap up here in the next few minutes. I just want to talk a little bit about the coaches I had at the varsity level. Coach Farrell was our golf coach. You know, I played 3 years for Coach Farrell, and you know, thank God Caddyshack came out then, because it increased the cool factor for being on the golf team at least a little bit. Golf wasn't a very popular sport back then, and I loved it. You know, walking up the 7th hole, watching the football players do blood hits in 2 days, and I'd be carrying my little club playing some golf. But we ended up having some great teams, led by Joe T. Sweetest swing you'll ever see. Just fantastic. Mike Jasinowski, little guy, 105 pounds, and he beat everybody. He had the best short game of anyone I've ever met. We lost 1 match in 2 years. It was just a lot of fun. And then you get to see other guys come along. A guy like Todd Morgan, unfortunately, passed away many years ago in a tragic accident, but you know, he was embraced by his teammates. Loved golf, felt included maybe for the first time. And you know, you get to be a part of that as one of the, you know, the captains and leaders of the team to make sure a guy like that can, you know, get focused on something. It was tremendous. And then we had this other little guy, 8th grader named Todd Kramer. All of a sudden, you know, he's playing, and then all of a sudden 9th grade comes around, and he's starting to beat everybody. And what was great, I mean, he's arguably the best golfer ever to come out of Sorbies. You know, he flirted with some of the pro tours, won several hurricanes, but you know, it was great. You know, he would, you know, PK, they had a big net, he'd hit 1,000 swings a day into that net. He loved it, he had some talent for it, and he worked hard. And again, that was just a life lesson to me to see a guy come up and just dominate like he did. And it wasn't all talent, it was hard work. And you realize in life that's what it takes, you know? You gotta work hard. And of course, when we play a few times after that, I reminded him that I did start ahead of him for a while. Coach reminded me he was about 12 at that point. Baseball, Coach Vizzy. You know, when you're growing up in Saugerties, baseball is the pinnacle. And, you know, you watch guys like Tim Cole and Witt and Code and Iggy and all these guys. And Coach Vizzy was the coach of the team. You know, he headed up the whole program. So everyone had a lot of respect for him. But there's a couple things maybe you don't know about Coach Viz. At the time I was in high school, Tim Cole was still with the Atlanta Braves, right? Fourth player picked in the 1976 draft. And so in the wintertime, he would come up to Saugerties and work out. So Coach Viz would work him out in the gym. So, you know, we'd go and watch him throw and just, you know, throw gas, how hard he threw. But what we would also do is me and Jeff Dodig would play him, Tim Cole, and Viz 2-on-2 hoops before our practice. And I knew Viz was a great golfer, he was a great, you know, baseball player. And I figured, well, he's coaching the wrestling team, he can't be too great at hoops, right? But Viz got game. He played well. It was a lot of fun. Coach, we had about 12 guys my last 2 years go on to play college ball. But, you know, it's not all about just the activities, it's the camaraderie with the guys, right? We took a trip to Florida our senior year, down to St. Petersburg. And on that trip, I'm going to finish up here. You'll notice, we noticed that one of the protective gear that a guy would wear, the cup, looked a lot like an oxygen mask. So one of the things that we would do on a long trip is administer oxygen to all the young guys. And it was just one of those things that it's just a lot of fun thinking back on all the horsing around you did. On the hoop courts, John Spears coached me freshman, JV, and varsity. And I don't know, John, if I'm going to be able to do this as quick as I used to, but I'm going to try. Deny! That was our calling time. That's what we would do. We had a bunch of good athletes that needed a lot of development, and Coach was the perfect coach for us. We had epic comebacks in the beginning. We would be behind close games. In fact, one of our teammates who was coming off the bench started a rumor that we were trying to keep the game close on purpose so we would play more minutes. I won't tell you the name of the person who started the rumor, but his initials are Billy DePino. Jeff Dodig asked me one time, what do you think would have happened if we played with the three-point shot? I said, well, I think it would have taken Steve Freer a lot longer to get his 1,000 points. And I'll speak for everyone who's ever been a part of a team. There's just something about the locker room. You know, you can be part of great businesses, great ministries, board of directors, do very important things, and that's fantastic, and we should. But there is just something unique about being in the locker room with the guys. And all the memories you make, and none of it's possible without the volunteers, without all that goes on. Just really blessed to be part of it. And I'll finish with this. When I was a kid, when your dad's pitching to you, it's swing to your hip, right? Swing to your hip. And I think that's probably the most important life lesson I learned through sports, is you keep swinging, you get feedback, and you pick up the bat and you try again. And I'm just grateful to be honored here today. And I want to thank you all.